Hello, my name is Ben Keat, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about my views around the subject of Armageddon, um, which is coming. Have no doubt, it is coming. It will happen. We know the reasons why. Um, the good, the bad, the haves, the not haves, the people who have who want to help the world, the people who have who don't want to help the world. The world is divided at every level between good and evil. We know that, and it's going to happen in my estimation, when I'm about the age of 95, 96, and I'm currently 43. So in 53, 52, 53 years, I believe we will have Armageddon on this planet. So be prepared for it, but don't make it your goal to choose a side now, because things are going to change pretty rapidly in terms of um, what the side of salvation has and can offer to people who have less. Because at the moment we have a lot of um, revolution in America, gang warfare and all that sort of thing. We have a lot of people dissatisfied with the political climate and the political situation. I do not believe that is a division of any proportion in terms of what shall happen around the time of Armageddon, building up to Armageddon and everything else that caused Armageddon to happen, which I have a few ideas about what it will be, and I'm pretty clear on that. Um, the universal realms clearly are going to come to this planet within the next couple of years. Quite a few universal realms, not just one or two, maybe about 16, 17, something like that. And this is going to cause a lot of people either confusion because they're part of something that they didn't know was going to happen, or confusion because they're left out of something that seems to be happening and going on in the world, but they aren't aware of it, or they're aware of it but they can't get access to it for basically the obvious reasons they've committed too many crimes against the Holy Spirit. But whatever the reason being, this confusion will be taken in hand by certain forces of darkness and fed. They'll feed the confusion, and they will try and amass as many people as they can who are either perplexed by the fact they're part of something that they didn't know was going to happen and they don't feel they're really part of it, or because, again, like I say, the people who are left out will feel that they should have been included, or they've missed out on something and they'll panic. Some of these people who have been missed out may have been unfairly judged in the fact that they've been left out initially from the psychical realms. But the actual reality for these people will be much more in line with the fact that it'll be a much harder decision for them to take, not just accepting the generosity of the deities, but actually more in line with either you do or don't, or you'll be killed. And if they say they won't and survive, then they will be included in the kingdoms. It's harsh, but ultimately everything's going to weigh out to be, proven to be fair enough, because of maybe a large amount of negligence in their life at a certain level when they didn't quite catch up with what they should have been doing at the time, and they got left out of it because of that reason. Or the reasons are various, but yeah, these people should be aware now that things are about to change, and possibly maneuver themselves to get themselves in a position where they're more included in an area nearby one of these psychical realms, rather than actually plonking themselves into a psychical realm and then expecting to be treated as one of the people who were there and instrumental in setting it up, because obviously these psychical realms will be set up by the people who live in that community. The cohesion of that community will ensure that these areas are safe havens and designed to be. Admittedly, they'll be dogged by the fact that there'll be confusion within these realms for people who don't feel quite included in it and never understood what was happening in that realm. They just live there a bit like a passenger in a system where someone, they're playing the passenger role, where they're not really putting anything into it in terms of the creative side of it. They're just living their day-to-day lives. However, Ina, the realm of Ina, is intending to cater for these people in certain systems, in certain ways, and that's why I've incorporated either taxpayers or non-taxpayers paying contributors in the system. So they'll still be able to carry on paying tax and doing business and working within the realm, but not actually necessarily contribute in any other way. I'm allowing this because Ina's more of an amnesty place, whereas some of these other places are going to be more like the Wild West in terms of you're either in on this or you weren't, and that's it. Tough luck, get out. So yeah, that's going to be the situation over the next couple of years, maybe maximum 5 years in some areas of the world. Starting today, it's going to start like that. But we've got more things coming on the horizon, obviously, because I'm talking about Armageddon here. This is the initial confusion that's going to be launched upon the world, but the next phase will be overcoming the system in places where these realms aren't, and certainly crying out to the forces of good to come and protect them against dark forces which will have got a grip because of this confusion phenomena, and possibly started to destroy minds and turn people against the good system and everything else. And the worm will have certainly got well in those areas that are left out. And also the cycle realms will be growing. So I say there are initially 16, 17 of them. We may be up to 30, 35 by the time, by say 40, 50 years time. And or maybe more than that, maybe up to 60 or 70, by that time. But initially, in say 10, 20 years time, maybe up to 30 or 40 different realms. And obviously the safe haven will be extending itself to as many different areas of the planet that it can do, where there is a majority of people who can put in place something that is optimistic and bright and contributing to the whole system and the general economy of the system, of the heavenly system, if you like. So as confusion builds and gets forced into marginalized situations, into the corners of the earth, if you know what I mean, where people can't access them for either reasons to do with the fact that there's no support when they get there, or because they're inaccessible places anyway, and these places have left themselves godless and away from future realities and the mainstream media that will be channeling all this information to get as many people connected to the system. The underworld of the planet is going to have a criminal element, obviously running it, as an underworld probably would. But in terms of how it's going to capture the minds of innocent people and people who don't necessarily mean to do bad, is because they will force them into using their system of bartering, selling, buying, and all that sort of thing. That is criminal backed, criminal based, and designed to undermine the heavenly realms so that they can ultimately move back into the heavenly realms and take them over. This is their ridiculous plan. It'll never happen. The firepower that the heavenly realms will have, they'll have no chance. But this is all happenstance. This is what they want to happen. But obviously, they're onto a losing wicket. They know they've been left out from the start, and they're causing a rebellion that's not going to bear any truck. But anyway, in the current situation, with the political situation of Trump and Biden and Trump being voted out, I think Biden, is probably a safer bet nowadays. I think Trump's done what he had to do in his 4 years. He'd probably like 8 years to carry on, to see it to fruition. But I don't think any way that Biden is going to change his mind in terms of. I don't think he's going to change the system that Trump's put in place. I don't think he can actually physically, because I think it's being put in place in such a way that it's ushering in the universal order, and that's what Trump is there for, whether you like him or loathe him. He was there to do that. With Biden coming in, he's more or less more of the same of Trump, but obviously he's much more. He reaches out to marginalised people and that sort of thing. He'll make the nation more cohesive, which is a good thing. I think actually, if Trump had been there, we'd have had a major problem in America. If he'd been there for a second term, a major problem. I think he's just too divisive. He kept the peace in many ways across the earth, but he's extremely divisive. So yeah, this sequence of events. Obviously, I'm talking about America in quite major terms, because America's a very important factor in the whole way the world will understand the technological upshift in what is happening with the cyclical realms. If you like, the cyclical realms will happen, but America is always America, like a confederated states of universal reform in the universal order. And it'll bring about the upscaling of components, computer, the way we look at hardware, software, everything else, to befit the cyclical realms. Ultimately, gaining, initially and ultimately gaining areas of heaven in America too. Obviously, certain places have to be rewarded straight away. But the most important thing about we wouldn't call it heaven either, by the way. If it came, we'd call it Able City and the Commonwealth of Ina. That's primarily what it is. But looking down from above, we might say that's roughly when first heaven came, whatever. But anyway, the whole change of this zone that is about as wide as America, that goes all the way around the world, including China, Japan, all the way around across Europe, parts of the Middle East, and all over parts of Africa, the north of Africa. This is the zone for the first cyclical realms, the first universal realms that are going to be in this area, and this is going to make it quite a safe area, a safe band. Ultimately, once we got the initial confusion out of the way. This is why the initial safe havens will be here. What is going to be interesting to see is how many darker zones, how many danger zones we can go and actually put safe havens before, say, the 50, 52, 53 year cycle is up. We reached the period of Armageddon when the parts of the earth are left out. Probably not in that band, mainly. I mean, most of that band will be safe. And quite a lot of Russia as well, because of the fact we're upscaling to the second level by the time I'm about 96, which will be, the second zone up in the north of Russia. But actually, initially, the whole band will consider itself the heavenly realms, I suppose, or the cyclical realms, we'll call them so, or the realms of Ina, the Commonwealth of the heavenly realm of Ina. If you like, so upscaling to the next level when we start to move safe havens into areas like South Africa, which I'm intending to move into pretty pronto actually and get something there because I think it needs stabilizing, and I think it's got enough people who believe in the sort of thing we're doing, and I've been there and it's quite dear to me. Another place is also Sri Lanka, which I'd be interested in pursuing an agenda to improve Sri Lanka and bring about stability there in terms of what's going on. And I'm also interested in Japan because I've been to Japan, and these are places I've visited. My travel is intense but quite limited, because I haven't really gone out to visit too many different countries all over the world because of the fact that I want to consolidate before I can actually bring something of any worth to the rest of the world. But as it happens, the internet society, the Silicon Valley, and the future of computers, and what we're doing here in Gloucestershire. I talk about Gloucestershire as a second California and all that sort of thing. What we're doing here is like a symbiosis, like a duality with California, say, and that is why that's a zone I'm looking at quite seriously as being part of and getting involved with, as a sort of duality to what we're doing here. But because of the internet and the communication system as it is on the planet being so advanced, I feel I've got a lot of locals in America. Due to this fact, a lot of the locals of the Commonwealth and actually ENA itself are in America. So I'm hoping to people local or people I feel close to. It doesn't necessarily mean my neighbour who's chiseling away at the walls, trying to hack me every 5 minutes and all this sort of thing. I mean, a neighbour's a neighbour to me, and that's someone I feel I've got something in common with, not necessarily someone who just happens to have moved in next door. And it's a global system. It's a multi-polarized global world that we're trying to create here, and it's about cohesiveness in the community. So yeah, sure, it is a good idea to get on with your neighbours to a certain extent and keep the peace, but actually, it's more important also to maintain stability with countries like China, India, and America and Russia, at the same time as looking after our own private concerns, i.e., Brexit. So, with 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 Brexit in Britain, we've got the bare bones of what's going to happen in our area of the world, and I think the Trump movement has done the same sort of thing for America. It may have divided people the way he did it, but I think Biden's going to steer that ship quite successfully. I hope he is. I hope he's not going to muck it up or die on the job or whatever. I'm wishing him all the best initially. We'll see how that pans out. But the rest of Europe, I'm afraid some parts of Europe aren't going to do too well. I think Europe has to, I think they have. I think they're starting to see the sense in Brexit. They're starting to see the multipolar model working, and I think it's going to be an amenable relationship that we have with Europe to facilitate enough safe zones, safe havens in France, Germany, Russia, Poland, maybe Israel as well. Don't forget, and various other zones in Europe. Denmark, Italy, Spain to a certain extent, Portugal, and a fair mix of laying down the blueprints for, I suppose, the fourth realm, which will ultimately be the capitalization of Europe, the moving into the capital cities of the world in Europe. This is a long way in the future, so we won't go into that. But the idea behind that is to have a principal capital up at the top, in Russia, and have a European capital system across the world, which brings about cyclical reality to the existing cities that were left out of the initial phase of the first universal realms, the, the third level, the third zone, the third uh, period, the third level up will be more of a consolidation to do with the Confederated States for Universal Reform, and Wales, which should actually be the location of the zone, the actual area we're talking about, in North Wales. So yeah, that's all. That will the third zone. To put it at a timescale, the third zone will actually be after Armageddon, and the second zone will be just on the brink of Armageddon, just before and after. But mainly the United Forces will probably launch from across the band I've talked about, uh, with the principal space program designed to give full support and maximum efficiency to dealing with the common threat and pinpointing the exact problem zones, danger zones, and taking out the enemies where we can. That will principally be the realm of Eno, which located here where I live. So I think we'll also get into the symbiosis from other universal realms. Like I said, there are going to be 16 or 17 of them. So we're not just going to be in a massed attack from one particular zone that leaves us vulnerable to a certain extent and hackable. So we're going to spread it out across the safe havens in the band of the 16 zones, and also reaching further out to other places would have started to make safe havens across the world to bring in land support and all that sort of thing. But moving towards Armageddon, it'll be um, in my mind, is always going to be a fairly decisive victory in favour of the good. But we've got to be organised. We can't be disparate. And I think at that point, we'll be a united force, like say the way America have perhaps been a united force against battles in the Middle East and that sort of thing with other countries, other allies, or in the Second World War. And the hostiles, the Armageddon forces, whatever they have, whatever sort of forms of AI they've created or whatever they're generating to try and destroy us, or machines of war and all that sort of thing, they'll still be a very disparate bunch with a lot of people not really sort of begrudging the fact that they have to fight on their side and all that sort of thing, conscripts and all that sort of thing. So I think I can see the war being decisive, but I don't know what sort of technology and demonic things they're going to come up with that will, enhance their situation to build up strength. I don't think there'll be much. I don't think there'll be much. I think they will have technology and they will have things that will be destructive. But I think we'll also have a lot of intelligence on the problem. We'll know the sort of thing that's actually going on in the minds of these people and what they're trying to create. I think it's important that we do have that access, and that's obviously something we're working on as well. But when we have that access and we know we can download all that information and get it up on our servers and see what's actually going on, or our systems, we won't call them servers, it'll just be a system that runs the whole thing. When we see that happen, we'll be one step ahead of the game, and they will have very little access to us because of the fact that we're a fully secure remit. We've worked on sharing as much as we can, in brackets, our products and our liberty, but at a certain level, it's gonna cut out on people who try and infiltrate what we're doing. And obviously, if this comes back to us, we'll have to take out the ringleaders before anything goes into the plans of the Antichrist per se. So that's basically the build-up to Armageddon. Now, the Battle of Armageddon itself. I mean, I could describe a video which is there's a lot of AI in it. It's a sort of cartoon video I've watched a few times. There's a lot of AI in it. I'll put the link up here at the end of the thing so you can watch it. But there's a lot of AI in it. There's a lot of people worshipping one side or the other, devoutly, and the Christians, the religious people, the people on the side of the good. Not necessarily religion, because I think that's got a lot to be blamed for. But people who worship, the right people, the Lamb, and the fact that they'll get salvation, and the people who are basically just belligerent machines who have this Antichrist as their head. He does everything by creating paper, creating sort of signing treaties and doing all this sort of stuff, and this machine, this robot rather in charge. You'll see how it pans out. It shows both sides. It juxtaposes. It's quite a good film. I'll put it on. But anyway, the whole purpose of our involvement in Armageddon, we're not doing it necessarily for ourselves. We don't necessarily see it as a threat in such terms that we have to take out the Antichrist. It's just because it's the right thing to do, and ultimately it's got to be profitable. And spoils of Armageddon are between us. We're going to lead a mission after Armageddon to pull up Plate 1. I've gone in some detail about it on the Umwaza's website. You can believe that. You can accept that the dead come back to life, and it's all a mission to death and to come back to life. But whatever way we're going to do it, we're going to get Plate 2, sorry, as I call it now, Plate 2 back, and move that to pastures new to move forward the next process of building platforms and space portae in places all over the universe, all over the planet. It's going to escalate the whole process of heavenly takeover, sort of all over the universe. Really, this is the purpose of having a space program in the first place, because we're going to bring out things into the universe and put in place heavenly reality that can change dimensions and everything. So that's the end game. That's what we're playing for. That's the whole purpose. So if you read Plate 2 on your Moses, if you just click on Plate 2 in your Moses, it gives you an outline of the sort of the deal that we're after, that we will be getting. I don't think the Forces of Darkness are going to be able to create that, and I don't think it'll happen for them. But that is the goal. We're going to end up with that, and that's what we want to do. So yeah, okay. Thanks for watching. Please watch this video afterwards. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put it up here. And yeah, please watch it, because it gives you an idea of the sort of horror of what Armageddon will be like, and how it'll pan out, and whether it's a good ending or a bad ending. I think it's a good ending at the end. To me, that seems to be the taking out of the Antichrist and everything else. But watch it and see what you can learn from it. Anyway, yeah, appreciate your time for listening to this video, and see you soon. Okay, cheers, bye.